Okay, hopefully my neighbor brought their dog back in. What's up, fellow dragons? It's your local dragon lady here with a new Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon profile. I've been getting a lot of messages and comments asking, when are you going to do a new one? So he's still a very popular deck to play with, and I've been asked to try to make it as competitive as possible, which I think I have. But as strong as a card as Chaos Max is, I still consider him to be a really good casual deck for fun. I still don't think it's something that you're going to be able to take any events with, but hey, this card has surprised me and my opponents on numerous occasions. Also, as a bonus at the end of this profile, I am going to have a bunch of cards that can be helpful to this deck. That if you want to build this deck in different ways, different ways you can abuse his power, I'm going to show you a bunch of helpful cards that you can use to swap in and out. So without further ado, let's get to this profile. For your ritual monsters, you're going to need 3 Chaos Max Dragons, and again, only 1 Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon. Every time I play this deck, this is the ratio that works the best, because the Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon, he is a decent win condition for this deck. The only problem is where your opponent is going to be using, well, most people do use a lot of link monsters, so that's going to make him fairly useless for that win condition. But still, a 3000 attack and the added effects of not being able to be targeted or destroyed by any effect, well, that is actually really good. And for the other 2 rituals, 2 Incantation Chalice Slimes, 2, I still think is a good ratio. This card is insane. You can reveal him and ditch himself, and you can special summon an incantation from your deck to your field. And of course, with incantations, this deck might change in the future, especially with the release of Dark Neostorm coming out soon. I looked at the cards, they seem decent, but as time goes on, we will see if this deck changes. We're going to need 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons. You're not going to be summoning these barely at all. These are just served as food to feed the Chaos form and the Advanced Ritual Art. So yeah, it's just materials to special summon, the ritual summon your Blue Eyes Chaos Max. 3 is a Borg, the Mega Monarch. This card is insane. It's another win condition. If you open up with this card and with either the incantations or with a corresponding magic card or ritual monster, this could win you the game. This basically zaps your opponent's extra deck, and as we all know, it's conventional wisdom with Chaos Max, you should always go second, but thanks to this card, you can now go first. Incantations, the ratio can be a little tricky, but I think this works the best. I still play 3 candles, 3 talismans, 2 pencils, and 1 book. You can play with this as much as you like, but in my experience, this ratio seems to work the best. 3 of the candles and the talismans I think is really important, because on occasion you can sometimes open with 2 in your hand. So if you're going to go with a 2-2-2-2 ratio, that's not very good, because you cannot use the effect of a certain incantation more than once per turn. And the only reason why you need to have at least 1 bookstone, even though his effect is kind of okay, is because he's a spellcaster. If you're going against any spellcaster deck, they may use the secret village of the spellcasters. So because you don't need to activate any magic or trap card to get him out, he's a searchable, so all you do is get him out in defense, and you can basically do your ritual engine as much as you want to get the Chaos Max out for all the damage. 3 lava golems. Okay, I used to use kaijus. I've stopped doing that. It's a very, very, very rare occasion now that your opponent's going to have 1 monster on the field. So Lava Golem is actually quite good to nuke 2 of their monsters, and it has the added effect of burning your opponent for 1000 life points on their standby phase. And you'd be surprised how effective that added effect is. You know, especially if it's later on in the game, you give it to their monsters, and I have 1 duels simply because of the burn effect. It's a nice bonus. So yes, kaijus are a good second if you're trying to get rid of any problematic monsters, but so far lava golems have worked the best, which is why I now main deck 3 of these. For the backup singers, Chaos Dragon Lavineer, I do switch between this one once in a while, and the Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. You don't have to use him. I just have him as a form of assurance. These 2 cards are great for front row and back row destruction. Chaos Dragon Lavineer is so easy to get, especially if you got multiple incantations in your grave, which is easy because, well, if they're in defense mode, your opponent tends to kill them for the sake of killing them anyway. But this deck, however, is super consistent, so this isn't something you really worry about. But I like having the Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon as insurance because, say if you open with nothing but a Melody of Awakening Dragon and you don't have anything to work with, again, very, very rare, you can use it to get a Blue Eyes Alt Dragon and a Blue Eyes White Dragon just to get a free monster in the field. So, in my opinion, why not? But again, he's not absolutely necessary, so don't worry about it if you don't have any. For magic, I have 3 Melody of Awakening Dragon. This is one of the most powerful search cards in the whole deck. I have done experimental builds without it. It can work, but I don't really advise it. And besides, this card is quite easy to find anyway, regardless of the rarity. Even if you've got commons, that is fine. But personally, if you want to run Chaos Max Dragon, this is an absolute must. So really, do your best to get it if you want to play this deck. For the ritual chaos form, you're going to need 3. Absolutely need 3. 3 advanced ritual art. I like to play with 3. You can get away with 2 if you want, especially with side decking, but in my opinion, 3 always seems to work the best. The secondary win condition, 3 creature swap. Yes, this play is still alive. I love this play. Creature swap is also multi-purpose. Not only can you do your OTK with this card, but you have nothing to work with, but you have an incantation in your hand and your opponent has a problematic monster. Hey, guess what? You can put down incantation in attack mode. It has 0 attack, and you can switch it off of one of your opponent's monsters. And I have done this. I've taken chunks out of people. Like if they had nothing but 1 strong boss monster and it's on a, and it can be affected with creature swap, that's what I've done. I put an incantation candle down in attack mode, switched it, and I took 3,000 or more life points off of them. Just with this card, it's a good way to commit petty theft against your opponent. And same thing with Mystic Box. Mystic Box, to me, is a secondary version of creature swap. It holds the same purpose. It allows you to do the OTK with Chaos Max. You have your incantation in defense mode. You destroy one of your opponent's targets. You give them the incantation and you go in for the kill. You can be liberal with these. You don't have to use Mystic Box, but I decided to put at least 2 in there to increase the odds of doing this OTK method, which I think is one of the highlights and funnest ways to play Chaos Max. And especially with opponents who are unfamiliar with this move, it can get, you can get a lot of good reactions with this. Last but not least, Bingo Machine Go. Okay. If you've seen my previous deck profiles, I've mentioned that you don't need this card, and I stress to you, you still don't need this card to play Chaos Max. And if you're unable to get a Bingo Machine Go, really don't worry about it. This card is expensive, the price keeps going up, so if you can't get any, don't worry, you really don't need it. However, the reason I've main decked this card again is because I call it bait with benefits. and allow me to explain. Hand traps, specifically Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, is the biggest weakness that this deck has. It just kills it, and my luck is so rotten. Almost everyone opens with that card when I play this deck. So I just have this to bait out the Ash Blossom. So I always use this, and this is a card your opponent almost has to respond to because it is extremely, extremely powerful in Chaos Max. They can search Chaos Max, Chaos Form, Blue Eyes Alt. Absolutely amazing. But this is where the benefits comes in. If you play this card to bait the Ash Blossom and they do not ash it, well, it's a free search. So really it's a win-win. So yes, if you have any, use it at least for that purpose. As I said, it's an expensive card, very difficult to get now. So really, don't worry. This deck can still work wonders without it. And a lot of people who have built this profile and played it themselves, they can attest to it that yes, as wonderful as this card is, you don't need it. The deck can work well without it. For the extra deck, this may surprise you, but there's an explanation. Now, the obvious cards, I have 3 Herald of the Arclight, 3 Elders, 1 Sai, and 1 Lancelot. Now, can you notice anything about this whole extra deck? There is only 8 cards. Exactly! The Herald of the Arclight is obvious because once you send these to the grave, you get 3 searches. Elder Entity allows you to pop 3 cards. Sai allows you to recycle a card back into the extra deck. And Lancelot, one of my favorites, you can overlay to allow him to attack your opponent directly for 2,000, which is great for the late game. But the reason why there's only 8 is because the Borg move is now gaining traction, and so are ritual decks in general. Necros has been gaining a lot of ground lately, and I have went against ritual decks who are using the exact same strategy, that you get the Borg out, you ditch it, and you take your opponent's extra deck and you have to go out, basically nuke at least 8 of them. So this is incredible for any mirror matches, because what's going to happen now if you only have 8 of these cards and your opponent tries to pull the Borg move on you, they have no choice but to send these 8 to the graveyard. So you're going to get 3 free pops, 3 free searches. Him will be unfortunate, but hey, you can play without him obviously, and 1 free recycle. So it's a way to it's a way to take advantage of not only of your Borg, but you're going to take advantage of their Borg too if they're using it. So that's a neat little trick if you don't mind sacrificing some draw power from Pot of Extravagance. Okay, the side deck is where most of my changes have occurred. So here we go. 3 Prohibition. Now, in today's game, this card is extremely powerful. Unfortunately with Chaos Max, the biggest weakness is hand traps. If you go first and if you play Prohibition, the card I typically target is Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. So, or Drone Lockbird if you have any suspicions of your opponent using that. And that's what I do. If I play this on my first turn, that's what I declare, and you can do all your searching without any fear of being ashed or droll. However, if you know what you're going against, Prohibition now has the ability to severely slow down or shut down decks entirely. Dark Magicians are gaining ground again. They're getting more powerful with the new support. I went against the Dark Magician deck. I went first, and that's why I declared Dark Magician. The deck was helpless. It was completely shut down because many cards in that deck become Dark Magician when they're on the field, so they cannot be played. And there's meta decks that this can slow down too. I went against Salamangreats. Use Prohibition to declare the Gazelle, or even the Circle. It slows them completely down. If you go against Trickstar, target Trickstar Candina. If you're going against Sky Strikers, declare Sky Striker Ray or Engage. This severely slows them down, and if you know ahead of time, especially if you're going to game 2 and they decide to go first, I mean it. Put this card in your deck, declare the correct card, and your opponent will be close to being shut down. It is amazing in today's game. I highly recommend that if you don't main deck, which I did main deck this for a while and it works really well, but at least side deck it. Trust me, you will not regret it. 3 Spiritualisms. I did side deck Twin Twisters for a while and it is great. It is very useful. Same with Typhoon. But Spiritualism, to me, it's more of a guarantee. And again, with Chaos Max, you only need to remove 1 card from the field to have them run rampant. So if they have Imperial Order out, doesn't matter. It's a Mask Restrict, again, doesn't matter. So as far as Chaos Max is concerned, I still think this is one of the more effective cards for back row removal. But again, if you can't find these, Twin Twisters is fine. Twin Twisters is still the best card to side for, you know, back row removal. It's just with Chaos Max, I still think, you know, I still have a soft spot for this card. It's just so effective. Swords of Concealing Light, yes, it is side decked right now, but very good going. Switch back and forth on occasion. It's still good for the Thunder Dragon matchup. It's still really good as a form of defense. Not only you're putting them in face down defense position so you can abuse Chaos Max's power, but if it's problematic, if it has effects that impedes you from doing your ritual summons from to begin with, this card is great. And besides, it works for 2 standby phases, so yes, really good in a bind. 3 Call by the Grave. This is really good for hand traps. Unfortunately, I have this side deck for the time being because it never shows up in my hand. Never. I mean, my luck is so rotten with this card. All of my opponents, they practically open with a hand trap. I never open with this card. And that's why I added Prohibition to Call by the Grave. It just increases my odds of pulling something that can protect my opening hand from these hand traps. So yes, main deck it's really good to main deck these, but in my case, I'm side decking it for now because depending on the matchup, you may or may not need these. And the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode. I mained these for a while. They are now side decked. Lava Golem to me is still quite good for removing problematic monsters, but the best thing with Sphere mode, it is a normal summon. So if your opponent gets a Crystallia out, you know, the card that prevents you from special summoning, this is the card you will main in that matchup, because if they have that card plus 2 others, you can normal summon to get rid of it, and bam, you can special summon to your heart's content. So yes, far better than the Kaiju, gets rid of 3 monsters. Another essential for side decking for almost any deck in my opinion. So that is the main deck profile. As you can tell, not much has changed from my February profile. As far as Chaos Max is concerned, I really do think this is the strongest that this deck can get. But again, that might change with Dark Neostorm. I've been looking at some of the new Incantation support. I've done some play testing with the proxies and it's okay. So no, I don't think this will be the last deck profile. However, I do think some drastic support has to come out for me to do a new one. There's very few ways I think this deck can be improved. However, if you have a large card collection or if you don't have very many cards that I've listed here, but you still have Chaos Max and you still have the rituals you still want to play in, well, guess what? I have a bunch of cards, very useful cards that you can use, that you can swap out or at least help you build your own deck. So for draw power, you can use trade-in if you like. You can just stitch a Blue Eyes White Dragon to draw 2 cards, and you can also use a Pot of Extravagance. This one will be easier to get. Pot is very expensive now, and you will need to pump up your extra deck to 15 cards. I did main deck this for a while, and it is quite useful. Only drawback is I did end up banishing some of my good targets for the Borg. And of course, trade-in isn't bad because, say, if you ditch a Blue Eyes White Dragon, you know, you can still use a Chaos form to banish it and get Chaos Max out. So yeah, this card's actually really, really good. For board wiping, you can use a Raigeki. I had this main deck for, you know, in the much older profiles. It's okay. And same thing with Lightning Vortex. Lightning Vortex is almost the same thing. It just has a cost. Again, if you were to ditch a Blue Eyes White Dragon to the grave and use this, hey, you can get rid of your opponent's field and still use Chaos form to banish it and get Chaos Max out. This card has saved me on numerous occasions. People don't really expect it, and it's unlimited. You can have 3 of these in your deck. So it will give your Raigeki good backup. So, you know, if you're not sure what to do about some problematic monsters your opponent has, these are a okay solution, well, to if you don't have any Kaijus. Incantation Inception. This is a really good ritual card, and best thing about it is if you have multiple incantations on your field, to ritual summon a monster, the levels can equal or exceed. So you don't need to have exactly level 8 to get your Chaos Max out. It can be more. And I did use this for a while, and it is quite handy, and it is recyclable. There are ways to get this from your grave back into your hand. Book of Moon, I still think this card needs to come off the ban list. There are more powerful cards out there that's stronger than Book of Moon, but for now, as I make this video, there is only one, and he's very obvious. You can just flip down your opponent's monster in the face down defense position and go in for double piercing. Manju, the 10,000 Hands. This is a really, really good starter card if you're building Chaos Max for the very first time. I had 3 of these in my original deck profile. Very, very strong. For a normal summon, it allows you to search your deck for any ritual magic card or any ritual monster. So technically, I still consider him to be a staple. However, with the Devi Ritual engine or Incantation engine, you don't really need it, and you can even side this if you're still uncomfortable. So one of the best cards you can have for any ritual deck is just that with Chaos Max, with my experience, if you're not able to find him, not able to get him at all, it's okay. But if you're starting off, I strongly recommend you use it. Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. If you're going to use any hand trap in Chaos Max, this is probably the best one. I used this one in OTS 2018, and this terrifies people, very much so. But only providing you have the correct targets in your extra deck. And right now the best targets would be Borreload Dragon, Boral Sword, and Summon Sorceress. Borreload, however, is probably the biggest weakness that Chaos Max has. So if you're going to target anything, target the Borreload, because he's non-targeting and he can steal your Chaos Max. And almost everyone that I play against have Borreload in their extra decks. So yes, this card got a lot of use for me, but I now have ways to get rid of Borreload without the use of Ghost Reaper. But if you're starting out, seriously consider trying this card out. She's very, very powerful, far more powerful than people give her credit for. Typhoon, another very good back row removal, well, at least for face-up cards. I primarily used this one in the past for the secret village of spellcasters, because you can activate this from your hand if you don't control any back row cards. So yes, this was quite essential. I think it still is. I just don't have any room for it. But that's where the Bookstone comes into as a spellcaster. So if you're not able to get that incantation, at least try Typhoon. Very, very good to help assure that your ritual engine gets going. Imperial Iron Wall. This basically prevents anyone from doing the banishing. So this can hurt you if you're not careful, because Chaos Form allows you to banish a Blue Eyes from your graveyard to activate it. However, a lot of my opponents have been doing some banishing of their own, i.e. Trickstar Reincarnation. That's a double-edged sword with my deck. I mean, I could have a real bad hand. It allows me to get a new one. But it depends. I mean, if they banish a card, a very essential card from my deck, like a Chaos Max or anything else to get them out, that can be quite dangerous. So, you know, if you look at my older profile, I have utilized this card quite a lot, and for a very good reason. Breakthrough Skill. This one is quite good. I used it for a while. I primarily got this for the Borreload Dragon. Now, it doesn't stop his first few effects. However, the important thing is it can stop him from stealing the Chaos Max, which is all I really cared about. That's his weakness. It's not targeting. So yes, if you want something to help protect you from the Borreload, this is actually quite good. Quaking Mirror Force. This is a really fun card. I love it. I've used it a couple of times. Didn't really get to utilize it that much. But basically, once they declare an attack, does not have to be direct, you just change all their monsters into defense position, which is amazing. And their positions cannot be changed. The only downfall, again, is link monsters. It won't work against them. And it's just an easy way to get everything else into defense, so you can go for double piercing, which is Strike. This one is a little strange. However, a lot of people are side decking a lot of solemn cards, the cards that can prevent me from using any of my rituals or getting Chaos Max out in general. And hey, if you just want something in your back row for assurance, just to, you know, protect yourself against those cards, this is actually quite good. Not something I use very often, but it's a nifty idea. It's good for protection. Chain Disappearance. Oh boy, no one expects this card. I used it and they were stumped, and it's extremely easy to use because a lot of people use cards that have 1,000 or less attack. A lot of decks have that ignition starting off with that kind of attack. So I've done that. I've had this in my deck for a while in the early days of Chaos Max. No one expects it. It cripples them, and I might actually try this again in the future, especially seeing how the metagame is going. Curse of Anubis! I love this card! I use it a little, for a while. It's a trap card, which is the reason why it's, that's the only downfall with this card. But hey, all face-up effect monsters, which is, let's face it, everything, on the field are changed to defense position, and their defense becomes 0. Yes, so if you pull out this card before you have Chaos Max on the field, it is game. It's game, because all their monsters, unless they're Link, will be in defense position with 0. Get Chaos Max out and go for the kill, like seriously. And not many people really remember this card, so when I pulled this off the first time, they had to read it. They were just, oh no. No. So that's why when I did my first profile of Chaos Max at the end of the video, I said, listen, shout out to Curse of Anubis. Use it. Look at your opponent's reaction. It will be unforgettable, and I stand by that. This card is amazing. It's just a little too slow for today's game. Warlord Dragon, Summon Sorceress. I don't have a Boral Sword Dragon. If I did, I would definitely add it here. But these are just targets for the Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. You are not going to be using these at all, but it's good to add these to your extra deck, not just as targets, but it's also good discard, or shall I say banish fodder, for Pop Extravagance if you do plan to use it. One Winged Dragon of Ra. I had decided for a little while, primarily for Rivalry. I did succeed in using the Sphere mode a few times. The problem is when your opponent uses Rivalry. So when you get the Sphere back, you're only able to use Divine Monsters. So if you have at least one of these in your deck, you're not totally dead in the water. It's basically a free summon, 4,000 beat stick. At least it will give you a chance. Don't play with it anymore, but if you're gonna go down the Sphere mode route, he's actually not, it's a pretty good idea to have him. Ghost, Ogre, and Snow Rabbit, Droll, and Lockbird. If you're gonna use hand traps, again, Ghost Reaper is the best one, but there's nothing wrong with these guys either. I would slightly lean toward Droll over Ghost Ogre. With today's game, there are a lot of decks now that heavily rely on searching and going through their deck. If you open with Droll, and especially if you're going second, this is like one of these best cards to have, and it has saved me numerous times. So yeah, this is definitely a really good card to consider if you want to play with hand traps. For back row removal, Twin Twister, still, one of the best back row removal cards there is. I did play with this card for a while in my side deck, and it has saved me. It's just that, as I explained, Spiritualism right now is one of the best options for Chaos Max, but again, if you don't have Spiritualism, this is still an amazing, amazing card to have. You discard, pop 2 back rows, nothing wrong with it, unless of course they have something that can negate magic cards. So yeah, that's the only downside to Twin Twisters, but still, like, staple. And that, my dragons, is my current profile for the Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. You'll notice that not much has changed from the February profile, but I really do think this is probably the strongest that this deck can possibly get. With Dark Neostorm coming out, who knows, that might change. So no, I don't think this will be my last profile. However, something drastic will have to change for me to upload a new one. So when that will be, I really don't know. But hey, thanks to all the cards I showed you at the end, hey, you now know new ways and different ways to, tinker with this deck. You know, you don't have to use the exact same profile that I've been using. The Incantation engine, of course, is essential, but hey, play around, see what you can come up with, and if you have any other neat ideas to play Chaos Max, let me know in the comments section. People have been doing that, and we've been discussing it, and I just love it. You know, you just don't know what else is out there that can make this dragon already more powerful. So anyway, as always, have fun and be a good sport. Play the game, not the fame. See ya! Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, be sure to subscribe and click on the little bell for notifications. You can also check me out on Facebook. Link is in the description below. Happy dueling! Ta-da! Another Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon deck profile. Oh geez, there's a dog outside! Bow wow. Oh no. Oh no, I'm going to wait for a while. What's up, my fellow dragons? It's your local dragon lady here with... Huh? I thought the dog was barking, but now a plane is going over it. Yes, the neighbor's dog is still out. Okay, I gotta wait another while.